Welcome again, everyone, to Leadership Synergized. I'm Kevin Smith. I'm your host, and the whole goal of the program that you're about to watch and or listen to is to introduce people who are making an impact in life in the right manner, positively, effectively, but yet those individuals are opening up to allow us to learn from them, things that have worked throughout their life, personally and professionally, and some things that haven't worked so well. I hope you're able to get some value as we are back again with my good friend, Mr. Scott Taylor of Davis County Public Schools, located in Kentucky. Mr. Taylor, thank you again for last week. Thank you so much for being back this week.
Not a problem, my pleasure.
Mr. Taylor, last week you talked a bit about your military service and about what led you into education, and would like to pick up on a few topics that you talked about last week. If we could, give our viewers and listeners a little profile and backdrop of Davis County Public Schools.
Okay. Davis County Public Schools, Western Kentucky, Owensboro, that is the primary town that is located in Davis County. Now, I am not from Davis County. I don't consider myself to be a Davis County son, but I feel I've been here long enough that I understand a little bit about it. There are three, I guess you'd say, main school districts that are here in Owensboro. You have Davis County Public Schools, then you have Owensboro Independent, and Owensboro Independent is actually the largest independent public school in the state of Kentucky and the Commonwealth. And then you have Owensboro Catholic. Now, granted, there are other smaller private schools that are here in Owensboro, Kentucky. Those are our three most primary that are there. Everything changed after COVID, but if we talk about pre-COVID, we probably had an attendance or enrollment probably about 11,700 students. We're around the 10th largest school district in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If you look at our demographics statewide, you have Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, and then you have Owensboro. Owensboro is the fourth largest city in Kentucky. As far as our makeup, we have two high schools, Apollo High School, Davis County, a non-traditional Heritage Park. Then we have three middle schools. Then we have 12 elementaries to round out our K through 12 setup. And so our district is predominantly white, but our demographics are growing. We probably have about 21% minority. If you think about our Hispanic population, our Burmese population, Korean population, African-American population, and pretty much that's about it. Staff demographic wise, like most staffs, we are predominantly white, probably about 76% female, white female, about 20-something% male. And then that other 1% are people that look like me, Scott Taylor. And so our demographics are like I said, are expanding. The only school that does not have what we call minority representation is Whitesville Elementary. Every other school has enough student representation that they have to have a minority parent or a person that's on our site-based teams. That's a sign that our demographics are changing in our district compared to maybe even 10 years ago. Great district, a high-achieving district. Our kids work very hard. Our teachers work very hard as well. Our superintendent is retiring this year, Matt Robbins, and we're in the process of a superintendent search that will be concluded shortly, and we'll have a new superintendent that will be announced probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Great school district, and can't say enough good things about it.
Thank you for that summary. Davis County Public Schools has a very positive reputation for the rigor and the relevance when it comes to that educational development. Scott, last week you talked about components of your role, and there were several of them, one being the diversity, equity, inclusion aspect. Talk about the challenges you face. Obviously, you've got a changing demographic, which in many ways is a lot of positive futuristic settings for even expanding further the educational opportunities.
Right now, I'd say the biggest challenge we have is the political environment. We do have a lot of states that have deemed that DEI is divisive, that it doesn't do anything but to make more problems. And that's so far from the truth. Our premise here at Davis County is we want to create a culture of belonging. We want to make sure that every student that steps in any of our buildings, that they belong, that they have a space. And that's not a touchy-feely, kumbaya type of dynamic, but that's really based on if anybody feels comfortable in the space, they're going to continue to come back, they're going to continue to thrive, and they're going to continue to be successful. So there's a lot of pieces there that if we make it about kids and we're about the business of making them feel that they belong, then we're going to achieve our mission. And that blends into academic achievement, that blends into social achievement, that blends into teacher retention, because when a student is feeling good and they belong there, you're going to have less problems. And that spins off to our staff retention as well. What kind of training are we providing for teachers with our new demographics that are coming in? And we do have some initiatives that are out there. We have a program called the ACE program, Academic Career Exploration, for African American students, where we provide college experiences for them, preparation, just a lot of good things. And then our new other program for Hispanic kids called Juntos. And you'll be reading about that because I submitted my assignment just this morning. Some great avenues of opportunities for our Hispanic students and parents as well. So also, when we're talking about reaching out to our students, but also reaching out to our parents, it's not enough that we send them an invite, but we go out to where they're at and we ask them what they need and the things that they desire. Consequently, the work that I'm doing in my doctoral work, that's part of the dissertation that I'm working on, is looking at Hispanic parents' perception of parent engagement. Again, I think we could preach to the choir, Dr. Smith, as far as what we know what parent engagement is as educators, but do we really ask the question to the people that we serve? And that's the premise of what I want to accomplish. And hopefully this can help other school districts as well as we reach out to our demographics that are emerging in our school districts, not only in Davis County, but other school districts as well.
Scott, you talked in last week's episode and here today, and it's so obvious the time I've known you these past few years, the natural heart to serve. Taking that all into account, you've done it in the military, you've done it as an educator for more than 30 years in that aspect. Share with us someone who had an impact on you, the value of serving, and talk a little bit about he or she for us. What stood out the most, or what did you take away from the time or the attention they provided you?
I think the initial thing that I saw was it was from my home. My parents served the community. My mom was a site manager at a senior nutrition place where she served people that are elderly. I usually would tag along with her in the summers. And actually in high school, when I was president of the Key Club, we would go down there and we would help serve our senior citizens down there, which was great. My father served as a city councilman and also as a vice mayor. I remember as a kid going out campaigning, say, vote for my dad. He also served in church, but we served as well. We served in a lot of different varieties. And from a faith perspective, we had a ministry where we would go to churches and sing. And I just think it's just something that I've always done. And my parents would always tell me, hey, listen, when you get something, leave it better than when you got there. And so that's just always resonated with me. So I saw a lot of that with my family, with my brothers and sisters serving in different capacities and doing things when it comes to serving people. And I see that with my kids as well. I see that in my daughter. She wants to become a teacher, and I'm excited about that. But I know that her and Jeffrey, yes, they really have the capacity to serve. Where you do have some educators, you shake your head like, really, why did you sign up for this? So for those that serve, it's an unthankful job. Sometimes, a lot of times you don't get a pat on the back, but it's planting that tree, which one day you're not going to enjoy the shade, but someone else is going to enjoy the shade. And so that's what I see it as.
You mentioned a moment ago, Scott, talking a bit about when you said something along the lines when we're able to keep the focus on the kids. And many times we read articles, you talk to educators, and a lot of times I've been told they just feel like the focus is being taken off the kids. And just looking at your career, military, education, back out of education, back into education, a good deal of transitioning there. I like to look at, rather than transitioning, the opportunity educators have to transform, to
Right.
influence and motivate. That it's more than
Mhm.
just moving from point A to B to point C to point D. It's really doing
Absolutely.
it in a transformative manner that basically says you're bringing value to others that transforms others.
Mhm.
And as John Maxwell says, when you're able to do that, you're creating multiplication of the development of leaders, of people who are
Yeah.
going to ensure that our kids are not missed. Talk a little bit, if you will, about your experiences. How, from your perspective, do those successful educators, such as yourself, Scott Taylor, how are you most able to keep the static away and truly keep the point on the kids?
I think part of that does have to do with resilience that you have because if you're really listening to all that noise out there and it's taking hold, then it's going to distract you from what your mission actually is. And so that's tough to do a lot of times. But I think early on when I started in education, I was having a conversation with one of my first mentors, Doug Hall. He was a principal at Darko Middle School. And I was talking about going to some summer workshops and doing some things that I was going to bring back to kids. And I was asking him if that's going to be okay. He said, Scott, anything you want to do that's going to benefit kids, do it. He said, do it. And so I just always had that impression that's just what I was going to do. So I understand the duties of a teacher and how they go outside of the scope of us being a teacher, but I just understand that being in the military, that was just all that I knew. I That's just the grind that I understood. So as a young second lieutenant, I think that was the last time that I didn't take anything home. But shortly thereafter, I became a company commander. It was just always there. So I just said to myself, okay, what do I prioritize? What do I understand that's important? And people are important. They're they're your most important priority. They're just your most important priority. I work with our after school program, and they're just a great group of individuals. And I do pour a lot of things into them, primarily leadership. Just right now, just currently, we're doing leadership. And so we're having a good time with that. And I'm talking to them and say, what does that mean to develop that? What does that mean to publish? What does that mean to talk about yourself in a way that you inspire other people and that you bring out the best and really transitioning in? It's not about you, but it's about these people that are in front of you. But then at the same time, you're that reflective person that you have to have these things in order so you can you're able to do that. So just like the airline steward or stewardess tells you on the airplane, in the event of the cabin pressure going down, you help yourself with the mask. You put the mask on first and then you help others. And so to me, that's just what it is.
That's a great analogy. And I will mention in my experience, and look, I've been in the manufacturing world, I've been in leadership roles, and at times, as I reflect back, things have gotten too tactically focused. Meaning, I would say that data became too much of a priority, and the people got put someplace else,
Yes.
even though the words would be "people come first," right? That piece. So there's an
Absolutely.
overcorrection that's been done, and now we got to balance back. People, if we're going to put more time on anything, it should be the people. Let the data
Yeah,
come along, because the people will bring the data in that
that's
aspect.
right.
I've learned that both through success and through a lot of failure in that piece.
That's
But
it.
at the heart of that is just love, just loving to be able to help transform lives and to
That's right.
put individuals in position for their future opportunity to transform other lives. There's got to be love for self, love in something bigger than self, more than self, but then love for others, serving others. I love what you're doing. Not to overuse the word love, like
Right, right.
I've done here in this minute question. Sorry for dragging it out. But those leadership philosophies, right? If you look at some of that in a textbook, it could be dry in that aspect.
Yeah,
But underneath that white space between the sentences says so
that's
much if we just dive into it and
absolutely.
allow that to come into the love we have for serving.
No, that is. And I really hadn't mentioned what I did on the military side as far as instructor. And for most of those veterans that are retired, yes, what do we miss? We don't miss all the mumbo jumbo and some of the dysfunction, but I do miss that staff group. I do miss that group of majors that they have so many rich experiences. They have so much. We can solve all the world's problems for real. And that's what we did. That was part of what they were being evaluated with as students. And it's the same thing. They weren't kids, but they were older adults, and you still made impressions upon them as a leader. And again, I feel really blessed to have those experiences, not only with those instructors that I still talk to on Facebook, but then former students that I taught that we still have conversations, and they're doing great things in life, and you sharing life with them because you made a difference.
My friend, you have made a difference. And before we close out our second episode here, just talk a little bit about Scott Taylor, his focus on personal growth and development, and what's next for Scott Taylor.
Um, Real excited about the process as far as this doctorate is concerned. It's not my life's work, but it would catapult me to that. Real excited to see what we're doing, not only with our families, but most notably our Hispanic families, our Hispanic students. And hopefully, if this could help other school districts and as far as their approaches, as far as their things that they're doing, that would be great. But there's so many areas that you could translate this to other than just Hispanic families. Again, it's the focus. It's the focus on what we have at hand. I really enjoy the process, not necessarily thinking about, oh, how many pages does this need to be, but really the process that we're going through, the committee, getting to chapter 3, getting the right research questions, getting the survey launched probably in early fall. Personally, I feel like I can see the horizon on retirement. I'm excited about that. I turned 54 in May. And so those things are going to come pretty fast. And I feel like I'm doing the preparations for that, and hopefully be in a position where I can do some things on my own terms and maybe adjunct teach at the college level. Would love to do that. I just sometimes still feel like I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. But I think I'm always going to be a lifelong learner and to learn different things, and just to always push the envelope on things that will initially make me uncomfortable, then that'll make me comfortable, knowing that I understand something a little bit more.
God still has a lot of life in you left to serve. And, you're much farther along in that aspect. I kind of correlate my life and in many ways to the U2 song, Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For in that regard.
I
It's
love
just a
it. I
perfect,
love
it'd
it.
be a perfect autobiography
That's right.
with that piece. But before we let you get away from us, what's one piece of guidance you might provide for those individuals looking to put something in their leadership toolbox today?
I'd have to say that it would be, I always think of these two words, building capacity. How can you build capacity in where you're at? I don't care if you're making fries at McDonald's or you're the corporation. You're either building capacity in a positive sense or in a way that may not be as positive. And so when I look at my life and I look at those people that poured into me, it was really impactful because I've done the same for others with those things that are virtuous, those things that are good. And sometimes you're not going to have those things happen, or you're going to have some bad things that happen. But I think part of building capacity, to stay ready to be ready, is always have yourself in a position where not only you can grow, but that you can be a blessing to others.
Scott said, and it certainly represents the person saying those words. God bless you and thank you for that. One final question for anyone who may want to touch base with you on an experience maybe you've hit upon they'd like to get a little more guidance with, a similar experience maybe they've had or having currently or have had or expect to have in the near future. How can they find Scott Taylor?
Oh yeah, you can find me. You can find me pretty simple. You can find me at scott.taylor@Davies, and Davies is spelled Daviess. It's that Western Kentucky pronunciation. .kyschools.us, and I'd love to talk to you and what I could do to help you and encourage you in wherever you might be. You're not alone, and so there's always someone there that can help and assist. And if that needs to be me, then yes, please do reach out to me.
Scott Taylor, you're a man of excellence, a man of faith, a man who is inspirational to all of us. I thank you for all you've represented, your service again in the military, but your service as an educator, and just from a man of faith to another man of faith, your service with God. I appreciate you. God bless you. I love you, my brother. Continue to do the things you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Dr. Smith. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking in my good friend Scott Taylor as he's talked about his experiences these past 2 weeks of Leadership Synergized. We're going to continue to bring you individuals who have had and experienced great things in their lives, who have learned lessons that they can share with you. And I hope you're able to take something of value away to build up your personal value. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking this time to join Scott and I these past 2 weeks on Leadership Synergized. Have a great day. God bless.